So again, you'll need to write notes for this. So make sure you've got your bound reference or whatever you're writing on for the notes. And you'll transfer this onto the notes that I will print to you on Monday. Okay, so here you've got, what we're trying to do here is now scatter plots. Remember, scatter plots are with bivariate data, not univariate. Univariate, you've got like box plots, stem and leaf plots, bar graphs, histograms. But when it comes to bivariate data, we're now looking at scatter plots. Okay, very important, the scatter plots and how we make them. So here's an example of a scatter plot. And also remember, you've got your X and Y tables here. So to construct the scatter plot from a table, you need to decide which one is EV first and which one is RV. Very important. Okay, which one is EV? Which one is RV? If you get them wrong, you're going to have the wrong plot. Okay, so understand which one is EV and RV, because that tells you where is your X and where is your Y. Okay. Once you've done that, set up a scale for the x-axis and label them clearly. So set up your table like so. Make sure you include all the appropriate numbers in there. And as Elion mentioned before, when we were talking about the breastfeeding graph, you have to have the labels. You have to have the labels in any graph. If you don't include it, that's already -1 mark. Okay, shh, Joseph. So now you've done that. After that, you've put all your numbers, you've scaled everything properly, then you plot your graph. When you plot, always go X first, so run first and then rise, and then do that Y. So do the X, so you go right or left first, then you go up or down depending on the graph. So here it's 5, 10, so we go 5 and then 10. So there's the plot for that. Next one is 5, 12, and we keep plotting it. Okay, shh. Okay, now that you've plotted everything, you can now look at the graph and make an interpretation from it. But that's basically how we plot a graph. Yeah, this is all doable on your CAS too. So we'll get to that in a second. So after you've plotted, what's the next part? Now we need to know how to interpret this. So this is where Emily mentioned before that the graph looked positive. So this is the kind of stuff that we are now looking into when it comes to interpreting. Yes?
What's the difference between linear and positive?
So linear means there's a straight line that you can draw through. Positive talks about which way the dots are going, up or down.
What's that? Look at the...
Yep. We'll get to it in a second. Right? So just calm your thumb. So there are 3 ways that we have to describe the association. So whenever you see the word association, this is when you're starting to describe the graph. Okay? There's 3 things that you have to talk about when it comes to association. Direction is the first one, and you've got 2 options for direction. Okay, so direction you've got either positive or negative. Okay, I would highly recommend that you write this down, at least the direction. Just this. Okay, write that down for me. Okay, so write this. So you need to look for 3 things. Direction. So with direction, you're talking about which way is the graph going. Is it going up or is it going down? I can see here, for example, this is a positive graph because it goes upwards. Okay, oops, that's not straight, but it goes upwards because it's a positive graph. Okay, this is a negative graph because it goes downwards. Okay, so there's only really 2 directions, positive or negative. Okay, next one you have to talk about is the form. There are 3 ideas or 3 things you need to talk about for form: linear, non-linear. So make sure you're writing this, and the 3rd one is no association. But this one, normally if there is no association, I'll talk about that in a second. Okay, when it comes to no association, we'll talk about that in a second. But there's 2 things I want you to just look at: linear and non-linear. Those are the 2 main things you'll definitely be talking about a lot.
Zoom out so I can see what's right.
What, this? Yeah, I told you to write it before, man. Stop mucking around.
It's going too fast.
You're not even listening. You're talking about ass. Can't believe you guys in year 11. Why even So immature. Anyway, listening please. So when it comes to form, you've got three answers: linear, non-linear, and association. Non-linear association. So when it's linear, you have to be able to imagine a line going through the graph. That's what linear means, a straight line. So if you can see there's a clear straight line that you can put in a graph, it's linear. Non-linear just means that there's maybe some sort of direction, but it's not really a straight line. This is a curved line. Okay, there could be some sort of pattern, but it's not straight. Linear means straight, and no association just means random. So I think before Elion mentioned, what does a graph look like if it's no association, neither positive nor negative, then it's no association, just random.
So for it to be linear, wait, so if the graph's like, we have a graph like that, yeah? If the line's going straight horizontally, that's linear, right?
It's linear. Okay, yeah. As long as you can put a line, an imaginary line through it. Remember, you'll have these in your notes, so you don't need to write them. Okay, but I would like you to write and understand the three different options. Yes. Do you have a question, Bob? Okay. Last one is strength. Now, you probably saw this back in year 10. Strength talks about how together the dots are. Okay, how closely compacted they are. The more compacted they are, the more strong it is. And you've got three options for strength. You've got strong, moderate, or weak. Okay, those are your three options for strength: strong, moderate, and weak. When it comes to describing, remember, just look at how closely compacted the dots are. The closer they are, the stronger it is. So for something like this, which you can definitely see they're quite close, it's strong. If they're a bit more spread apart, then it's moderate. But then if it starts to become a bit hard to figure out if there's a line in there, then it's weak. I can still see that this goes in a positive direction, even though the dots are in a weak association. But you're looking at how closely compacted the dots are for that. So to summarize that, when it comes to describing association, okay, when you're talking about association, there's three things you have to talk about. Direction, okay, you have to mention the direction, the form, and the strength. Okay, for direction, you've got two options. You've got either positive or negative. For form, you've got two options as well, but I'll talk about the no association later on. So for form, you've got linear and non-linear. And then for strength, you've got three options. You've got strong, moderate, or weak. Okay, you have to make sure you state, when it comes to association, you have to mention at least one of each of these. So a question might say, describe the association between breastfeeding and immunity to disease. So you'll talk about what's the direction? Well, it's positive. What's the form? Well, it looks pretty linear. And the strength, it looks strong. So that's what your answer will look like. Now, the last thing I want to mention is this no association. So whenever you just look at a scatter plot and everything is random, you can just write no association. You don't need to talk about strength, direction, or form. Okay, so if it just looks random, just go no association. Yep. So on the bottom here. Okay, so if a scatter plot looks really random, let me just give you an example. If it looks like this, and it asks you describe the association, no association. Oops. Okay, you can just say no association if it just looks random. Okay. Can I move on, Bella? Okay. Let's move on. So let's describe this. Talking about direction, form, and strength. Let's look at this first one. Okay, so the direction. What direction is this, guys?
Positive.
Positive. It's going upwards.
And I think it's like linear.
Yep, it's linear. Because I can see that you can actually put a straight line through that data. And what's the strength? What would you guys say this? Yeah, I would say it's either moderate or strong. Now, in year 11, listening, we won't normally, it'll be pretty clear what it is, but because there's later on, you'll be given a number that tells you whether it's going to be strong, moderate, or weak. And we'll determine that later. But for now, we're looking at it by eye. I would say that's either moderate or strong. Or moderate to strong. I would highly recommend that you just pick one though. Yeah, I would say that's probably, I would say it's moderate, more moderate than strong. So I'm just going to stick to moderate. Moderate association. Yes.
Can I get forward?
Yep. Why didn't you go on your way here?
It said to come get straight on.
Okay, bring it over. Alright, so I would say as an answer, this is what it would look like. If I'm describing the association here, it's a positive linear moderate association. Easy.
Oh,
That's it. Okay, let's look at this one. How would you determine this one?
Negative.
Yep, so let me give you the full answer. Just go, Denzel, it's fine. You would write there is A. A, and then you'd list negative, linear, strong. Yeah, I would say it's strong. Negative, linear,
Strong.
I don't know what's strong.
strong association.
That's pretty tight.
Okay. There is a strong negative linear strong association. Now it doesn't tell us the variables, but if there were variables here, maybe this could be, I don't know, smoking, right? Oh, actually, there's one already there. This could be like exercise, and maybe this can be death.
Death.
So what's that saying?
The more exercise, the more death.
No, the more you exercise, the less death. The less you exercise, the more death. So if there was a variable on these ones, I would actually write as my answer, there is a negative linear strong association between exercise, so the RV and the EV. Also the EV and the RV, and death. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you're interpreting the data. Okay, this is the kind of stuff that you have to do. So there is a strong negative linear strong association between exercise and death, or death rate. Negative linear strong. I'll turn it off. Cool. So does that make sense? When it comes to interpreting data for association, this is what we're looking at: the direction, the form, and the strength. Those three things. Okay, so that's listed out there. So you need to make sure you understand that. Okay, let's look at the next part of the constructing using a CAS, and then we'll interpret. Okay, so if you have your CAS calculator with you, please get it out. And we're going to go through using a CAS. Well, you need to charge it next time.
I can't find my charger. I found the calculator, I can't find it.
Is there an Android charger? Isn't there an Android charger?
Yeah, Android.
Okay, so we'll probably do this again next week. Make sure you bring your CASs, please, because so we can draw some more graphs. Next part, we need to state which of these are whether they would generally give a positive, a negative, or a no association. So we have to think about what the association of these graphs might be. Okay, shh. So before we actually do anything, let's look at the variables. You've got study per week and enter score. Which one is EV? Which one is RV? Study. Good. Week. And what is our RV? Oh, quick.
Enter score.
Good. And this is our enter score. Oh, so I wrote that in the wrong way. Whoops. Study per week. And this is our enter score.
Got me confused here.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize it was the other way around. Normally you put EV on the top, but whatever. Okay, now think about the association. So let's talk about the strength of the direction, the form, and the strength. So this is a what? Positive. Strong. Yeah. No. What's the linear?
So you have to put in that exact.
Doesn't have to be in order, but let's do it in order. And this is, I would say this is probably strong, but the outlier might make it moderate. But for now, let's call it strong. Okay, this is strong. It would. Okay. So it's positive, it's linear, it's strong. Right, shh. Next one. Oh, and as a full answer, you would write there is a positive linear strong association between average numbers of hours per week and enter score. Okay. Next one, okay, how hours of work and recreation.
Ow.
This is tricky. Hours of work for recreation. So which one is which? Now have a think. This might be the wrong way around. Yeah. So determine which one is which.
This is not recreation.
I would say hours work will determine how much time you get for recreation. Okay. So I would say hours work is EV and recreation is RV.
What's the definition of recreation?
Sorry?
What's the definition of recreation?
It's like relaxing activities,
Oh, okay.
things that you do. So I would say the number of hours you work will determine how much you can do. So and recreation. Okay, so let's talk about the association. What's the direction? Negative, good. What's the form?
Strong.
Linear.
Oh, I keep forgetting that.
And what's the direct strength? I would say it's strong too. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about with association. Next one here. Ooh, okay, this is a good one. Okay, height and number of hours studied. There you go. Okay, shh. So, this is a tricky one. Height and number of hours studied. Which one is EV? Which one's RV?
No, that was Christian.
Trick question. Probably neither. You can't really tell. Why is that? Because, is there an association? No. So there's no association because it's too random. The number of hours doesn't determine your height, and your height doesn't determine the number of hours you studied. So in this case, because there's no association, you can't really put anything here. But I mean, you could just say that you could say this is hours, and this can be height. It's not necessarily the right thing, but it doesn't really matter because there's no association anyway. So it's too random for there to be any EV or RV.
Makes sense.
Okay, and that's basically it for